This one time at a gas station, well, it's a doozy. I'm talking grade A, USDA certified, prime cut craziness, served up with a side of sweet, sweet justice. My name's Detective Marcus M. Allen, and when I'm not chasing down bad guys and solving minor felonies, I'm apparently a target for suburban entitlement. It was a Tuesday, the kind of day where the sky was that particularly depressing shade of gray that makes you question all your life choices. I was running late for work, needed gas, and all I wanted was to get to the station in one piece. So naturally, fate decided to throw me into the Karen gauntlet. I pulled up to the pump at the Sunoco on Bayside Avenue, already feeling the early morning stress creeping in. I swiped my card, started filling up my trusty, and slightly beat up, Ford Taurus. Yeah, I know, a detective driving a Taurus, it's incognito, okay. When I heard it, the distinctive sound of clacking heels on asphalt, followed by a voice that could curdle milk. Excuse me. I braced myself. I knew what was coming. I could smell the entitlement from a mile away. I turned to see her standing there, like a porcelain doll about to explode. Her name was probably something like Priscilla or Agnes, but in my head, she was already designated Karen Prime. She had the full uniform, impeccably coiffed blonde bob, oversized sunglasses that probably cost more than my monthly rent, and a disdainful expression that could wither a fern. She was also sporting the Karen starter pack, a pearl necklace and a sweater vest. Yes, I asked, trying to keep the weary sigh out of my voice. My car, she said, gesturing vaguely towards a gleaming white BMW SUV, needs gas, and you are going to fill it for me. I blinked. I'm sorry, did I hear you correctly? You want me to fill your car with gas? Yes, it's the least you can do. I'm late for my Pilates class, and I simply don't have time to deal with this. Now, I've dealt with some pretty ridiculous requests in my line of work, but this one took the cake. Ma'am, with all due respect, I'm filling up my own car, I'm also late, I suggest you do it yourself. Her eyes narrowed behind those ridiculous sunglasses. Are you refusing to help me? Do you know who I am? I'm on the HOA board, I practically run this neighborhood. I stifled a laugh. Congratulations. Look, I'm really not trying to be rude, but I'm not your personal gas attendant. Have a great Pilates class. I turned back to my car, hoping she'd get the hint, but Karen Prime wasn't one to back down. Oh no, she puffed out her chest and took a step closer. This is outrageous, I demand you fill my car, I'm sure there are a million other things you should be doing. Ma'am, seriously. That's when she reached for her phone. I'm calling the police, I'm being harassed, this man is refusing to help a woman in need, and I feel threatened. I couldn't help it, I started to laugh. Go ahead, lady, I gestured towards her with a gas nozzle, call them, please. And she did. Right there in the middle of the Sunoco, Karen Prime dialed 911, her voice dripping with fake distress. Yes, I'm at the Sunoco on Bayside Avenue, I need an officer here immediately, I'm being threatened by a man who is refusing to assist me, and I feel like my safety is at risk. It's a black man, yes, black, if that matters. I shook my head, fighting back a smile. This was just too good. I finished filling my tank, replaced the nozzle, and started walking towards the store to pay, all while Karen Prime was still ranting to the 911 operator about the injustice of it all. He's walking away, he's getting into his car, officer, you need to get here right now and arrest this man. I paid inside, grabbed a coffee, black, like my soul was starting to feel, and walked back to my Taurus. Karen Prime was still on the phone, pacing back and forth in front of her Beamer, looking like she was about to spontaneously combust. I got in my car, started the engine, and rolled down the window. Have a good day, ma'am, stay hydrated. I gave her a little wave and pulled out of the gas station, heading in the direction of, well, you guessed it, the police station. Now, here's where the fun really begins. I arrived at the station, parked my car, and walked inside, still chuckling to myself about the whole ridiculous encounter. I headed straight for Captain Reynolds' office. Morning, Captain, I said, saluting, got a bit of a situation brewing down at the Sunoco on Bayside, might want to send someone over there. We have a distraught citizen reporting a possible harassment. Captain Reynolds, a no-nonsense woman with a permanent seen-it-all expression, raised an eyebrow. Harassment, details, Allen. I explained the whole story, from the initial demand for free gas to the 911 call, carefully omitting the fact that I was the harasser in question. I just painted the picture of a very agitated woman causing a scene at the gas station. Reynolds sighed. Sounds like a classic Karen. Alright, I'll send Officer Miller over there to sort it out. You go get to work on that Henderson case. And Alan, she added, a glint in her eye, try to avoid any more citizen interactions for the rest of the day, okay? Yes, ma'am, I said, trying to keep a straight face. I spent the next few hours buried in paperwork, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed to see this thing through. So, during my lunch break, I casually strolled over to dispatch and asked if there were any updates on the incident at the Sunoco. The dispatcher, a young guy named Kevin, grinned. Oh yeah, that call, Officer Miller is still on scene. Apparently, the woman is demanding that someone be arrested for refusing to pump her gas. I snorted into my coffee. And how's Officer Miller handling that? He's trying to de-escalate, but the woman is insisting on filing a formal complaint. She wants to press charges for harassment, emotional distress, and, wait for it, endangering a privileged member of society. I nearly choked on my coffee. Endangering this is gold. He says she's refusing to leave until someone is arrested. That was it, I couldn't resist. Kevin, can you do me a favor, patch me through to Officer Miller? Kevin looked at me, a mixture of amusement and apprehension on his face. You sure about that, Detective Allen? Absolutely, this is too good to miss. He patched me through. Officer Miller, this is Detective Allen, I'm calling about the situation at the Sunoco. Detective Allen, thank God, this woman is completely out of control. She's demanding I arrest someone for, I don't even know what, she keeps saying something about community standards and entitlements. I understand, Officer Miller, listen, I have an idea. Play along with me, okay? Ask her to describe the person who threatened her. Get a detailed description, everything, hair, clothes, the whole 9 yards. I could hear Miller's confusion through the phone. Okay, detective, I'll try. A few minutes later, Miller came back on the line. Okay, she gave me a description, black male, about 6 foot tall, wearing a blue shirt and jeans, driving a, wait for it, a beat-up Ford Taurus. I grinned. Perfect. Now, here's what you do. Tell her you need to take her statement back to the station for processing. Tell her you need her to come down to the station right now to sign it. Emphasize the right now part, and tell her that you need her car, she will be driven by the police, no exceptions. There was a pause. You think that'll work? Miller asked, sounding doubtful. Trust me, Officer Miller, it'll work. Just do it. About an hour later, I got a call from Kevin at dispatch. Detective Allen, you are not going to believe this. Let me guess, I said, Karen Prime just arrived at the station, demanding to press charges. Bingo. And she's absolutely furious. She keeps asking for the police car, the black car did not impress. Alright, Kevin, here's the plan. I want you to direct her to the waiting area. Tell her someone will be with her shortly. I walked down to the waiting area, trying to suppress a grin. There she was, Karen Prime, sitting on a plastic chair, tapping her foot impatiently. She looked even more indignant than she had at the gas station, if that was even possible. I took a deep breath, walked up to her, and put on my most official police face. Good afternoon, ma'am, I'm Detective Allen, you wanted to file a complaint. Her eyes widened behind those sunglasses. You're the man from the gas station. That's right, I said, my voice calm and professional. And I understand you wanted to press charges against me. She sputtered, but, Officer Miller said you were going to be arrested. Well, ma'am, I said, pulling up a chair and sitting down across from her, it seems there's been a bit of a misunderstanding. You see, making false accusations to the police is a crime. It's called filing a false police report, and it's a very serious offense. Her face paled. But, I felt threatened. Did you now? Threatened by a man who was simply trying to fill his car with gas, a man who, by the way, was on his way to work here at the police station. I gestured around the room. The realization dawned on her face. She was trapped. She'd called the police on a police officer and then followed him to the police station to press charges. I leaned forward, lowering my voice. "Now, Mrs. Henderson," she mumbled, "Priscilla Henderson. Mrs. Henderson, I'm going to give you a choice. We can either proceed with filing charges against you for filing a false police report, which carries a hefty fine and possible jail time, or you can write a formal apology, promising to never make false accusations again, and we can all pretend this little misunderstanding never happened." Priscilla Henderson looked like she was about to cry. But, what about my Pilates class?" I raised an eyebrow. "I'm sure they'll understand." "Now, which will it be, Mrs. Henderson, charges or apology?" She caved faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. She stammered out a tearful apology, promising to write a formal letter of contrition. I provided her with paper and a pen, and she scribbled out the most pathetic, self-pitying apology I'd ever seen. I read it over, nodded slowly, and handed it back to her. "All right, Mrs. Henderson, you're free to go, and next time, maybe try pumping your own gas, okay?" She practically ran out of the station, her perfectly coiffed bob bouncing with each step. I watched her go, a satisfied smile spreading across my face. The best part, a few days later, I got a memo from Captain Reynolds. Seems Mrs. Henderson had filed a formal complaint against the police department for emotional distress and abuse of power. Reynolds just laughed and filed it in the circular file. And that, my friends, is how I dealt with a Karen at a gas station. It wasn't exactly solving a major crime, but it was definitely one of the most satisfying moments of my career. And it's a story I'll be telling for years to come. The moral of the story: don't mess with a cop, especially when he's just trying to get to work on time. And for the love of Pete, learn how to pump your own gas.